All right, everybody, welcome back to the MCU binge, basement binge. This week we watched Infinity War, finally getting into these big movies here. Anyway, my name's Harrison.
I'm Kelton.
And I'm Cade. Let's get to it.
Okay, everybody, you guys know the routine. As always, even though we're still talking over Skype and it's kind of weird, we're going to start with a spoiler wall where you get our spoiler-free reaction to the movie. And, yeah, 1 minute of uninterrupted time. So I will go first. I'll go first on this one. I haven't gone first in a long time.
All right.
All right, kid, tell me when you got my timer ready. Cool. All right, so this movie, a big part of the movie that went out to this was the hype. And, like, a big part of my enjoyment about this movie is the experience that I had watching this movie in the theaters. And, like, that's probably, to be honest, like, the only... Well, one of the two positive thoughts I have about this movie is the experience I had watching it in the theaters, and then like how well made it is as a movie. Like it's a really, really well made movie, but it's really hard for me to watch. So spoiler alert: if you don't know this movie at all, I'm sure you heard the news. They lose at the end, and it's just hard to watch. I just don't like watching it. I don't like seeing people I care about lose, and I like it's really good. It's well made. Like, there's parts about it that are a ton of fun, and the fights are sweet. Like, there's tons of things that are enjoyable about it, but, like, as it goes, enjoying a movie, it is hard for me to watch this movie because they lose, and so for that reason, I don't really watch it that much. And so I don't have too many positive things to say about this movie because it's just, like, all the positive things in this movie are just ruined by the bitterness of them taking the big L at the end of this. So would I recommend it? If you weren't already a big fan of this movie, I would not recommend it. If you already like this movie, you already know you like it. Just go enjoy it yourself. Have a good time. There's great parts in there. But, I mean, if you're never really into that superhero thing, I don't think this is the movie to change your mind. So, yeah, that's my spoiler wall.
All right, is it my turn, Cade?
All right.
All right, let's do this. Okay. So, I didn't watch this movie right when it came out. I was on my mission at the time, so I came home and I had a bunch of my friends saying, I was like, look, you really got to watch this movie. It's crazy. It blows your mind. I was like, okay. So I caught up on the movies that I'd missed in the MCU, and then I watched this movie, and this movie is firing on all cylinders, that it is jam-packed. Like, every scene is crucial to the entire movie. And so, okay, it's hard not to spoil anything, but from the very beginning, you're just like, your jaw's just dropping. Like, oh my, did that like really just happen? Is that allowed? Like, that is totally like blowing my mind. Like, and so it's kind of crazy. But to summarize my experience, the first time watching this, when so towards the end of this movie, I was sitting on the couch, and I was at the end of the movie, when the movie finally ended, and the credits started rolling, I was leaning forward, like grasping my like calves. I don't know why. But I was grabbing my calves and hunched over, and I was just so tense and, like, uptight because this movie was insane. Like, it does something that not a lot of movies do, kind of like what Harrison mentioned in his spoiler all, but it will throw you, and it will keep you, like, riveted because it's so intense, and you're cheering so hard for your, the Avengers and everything. So it definitely hooked me good, and I think it'd be fun for anyone else to watch it as well. And I would say you could even do a standalone with this just because the action's that good and it's that entertaining. So, yeah, that's my spoiler wall.
Nice. Okay, all right, here we go. This is my spoiler wall. Okay, this movie has... Oh my gosh, this movie is crushingly good. And the reason why I say that is because there's, like what Kelton said, that the action and story is so jam-packed that you can't miss a scene, but it doesn't feel rushed, if that makes sense. Like you can feel the intensity, and you can feel just the huge, just ooming cloud over this whole movie of what's gonna happen, and you want so badly for it to go a certain way, and it doesn't ruin the movie, at least for me. But like I said, like I watched this movie in theaters, and my mouth dropped so many times, just jaw dropped, just complete shock, surprised, like, oh my gosh, now what's gonna happen? And it's almost like a good TV show. This movie, that once you finish with it, you gotta watch Avengers Endgame in order to be satisfied. You know, you gotta marathon it. You know, so I want to recommend this movie, but this is not for the faint of heart. This movie, I'll say that it drags you into it, but I would recommend this movie.
Alrighty, well,
All right.
I'll take back what I said then. I'll at the end of the spoiler wall, I still don't like
Hey,
this
don't
movie.
change it.
Well, let me rephrase it. Let me clarify. If you have not seen this movie, I recommend that you watch it. The first time you watch this movie, especially if you're a big fan of the Marvel movies, there's a ton to enjoy. The pacing is good. It really is jam-packed. The villain is intense. It's a good movie to enjoy the first time. But I will never, ever rewatch this movie again, except for when I'm watching through the whole... I'll never hey, let's just watch Infinity War. I will only ever rewatch this movie when I'm going through the Marvel movies. But if you haven't seen it, I definitely recommend it. So, there's the clarification.
All right. Good to know.
But that's the end of the spoiler wall. So if you've not seen this movie and you don't want anything at all spoiled for you, do not listen anymore because we're about to drop it. But we appreciate everybody for listening. Go watch the movie. Come listen to the main episode. Everybody else, on to the regular scheduled program.
All right, let's do this.
All right.
All right, so first segment here. This is 2 cents. So this is a lot like a spoiler wall, but this is 2 minutes of uninterrupted time where, with spoilers, we get to talk about how we feel about this movie. So, super quick breakdown of the show. I haven't done this in a long time. What we do is we start with our 2 cents, which is 2 minutes of uninterrupted time, followed by our ranking and how we personally rank movies here at the Basement Binge, followed by what we call binge points, which is Easter eggs and details, least and likes, which is what you think, what is exactly what it sounds like, favorites and least favorites, and lastly, fall in, where we discuss the meanings and messages of the movie. And yeah, so like I said, 2 cents. Here we go. I'll go first. Cage, you got my 2 minute timer for me? Alrighty, so like I said, this movie, I was serving a mission as well, came home, and there was all this hype about Infinity War happening. I was like, what the heck's Infinity War? Like what is this? Just being so taken away and out of pop culture. But then my younger sister, she was all hyped for it. She's like, you got to watch this movie. You're coming to the theater with us. She bought me a ticket. I was like, okay, I got excited about it, to go see a movie that I heard was pretty good. But there was so much that I didn't know. I hadn't seen Civil War. I hadn't seen a ton of movies. I hadn't seen Age of Ultron. There's so many movies that I hadn't seen. And of course, I was not on the hype. But I went to the theater, and in the theater, being with that group of people, hyped me up. And when Cap catches the spear at the beginning, saving Wanda and Vision, the theater erupted. And I was like, oh, this is important. And then got me excited. Hearing other people's excitement made me excited, made me enjoy it a lot more. And that movie theater experience was so good, and now it makes me sad that theaters are closed and I haven't been to one forever. But so this movie is a super intense. It really does drag you through the mud, and your emotions are really just hitting on. The movie fires on all cylinders. Really, that's what Kelton said, and it's well. The movie paces so quick, switching between so many different stories at the same time, different locations and planets, and it's just going full speed ahead nonstop. But watching it a second time for me, knowing what is going to happen, that full speed ahead is just so much harder to endure, because I'm I know they're going to lose. Every single one of these efforts is not worth it. I know what's coming. I know they're going to get their butt whooped. In the theater the first time, is I didn't know that they were going to lose. I expected them to win, so I was waiting for it to turn around, and it never did. And that's what made it so good, is that I was shocked. But now there's all that shock's gone, and so watching it again is just ugh, they're just gonna lose. What's the point? Just give up. Just give it to them. Don't go through all this effort where some of you die and get stabbed. And yeah, that's my thoughts about the movie. Very unorganized thoughts.
All right, Cade, I want to go next. Hook me up with my time, baby. Okay, here we go. All right, guys. This movie, holy freak. It had been 3 months since I've seen it, but man, I have forgot. I don't know. Part of the reason why I love this movie is the emotion involved. Because I feel a lot of the Avengers react how I would react in a case like that. Because, I don't know, one thing I feel that the MCU does so well is that they keep their audience riveted in the new problems that come. because I feel like sometimes the superheroes like, oh, another like villain. We're just gonna fight him. We're gonna beat him. Do our thing, you know. But what Marvel has done is that they've branched this out, and they have like 4 or 5 different stories going at once. And so keeping track of them is like crazy, like confusing, but really good at the same time. It keeps you hooked, I think, very, very entertained. Like, this movie is like nonstop entertainment because there's always something funny or like crazy cool going on, like the action or whatnot, or just the cool like CGI that you're just entertained the entire time. Like, watching this doesn't feel like 2.5 hours for me because it's like, oh my gosh, like I am so hooked the entire time. There isn't like a lull at all in the story. But wow, I'd say this is the first like movie I've ever seen where like it's a loss, you know, the heroes end up losing in the end. But I was thrown more at the beginning of this movie than the actual end when I watched it the first time. Because in the first 5 minutes we see, oh, all the Asgardians are slain by Thanos right after they escape Hela and, like, you know, Asgard is completely destroyed. And then we watch Hulk, the Incredible Hulk, get the snot beaten out of him by Thanos. Like, hand-to-hand combat. Like, okay, I got chills watching Thanos just, like, methodically just take down Hulk. Like, it's terrible to say, but it was, like, crazy cool to watch. You see how strong Thanos is, and then you see freaking the sword dude with like he sends Hulk back to Earth, and then we see Loki die, and then we think Thor dies because the ship explodes. Wow, I have no time. But geez, talk about an opening. Everything we know about the MCU is thrown off, and you're just like, oh my gosh, what the freak? Now I have to finish this movie because I've got to see what actually happens. So I don't have enough time, but that's my 2 cents. Gosh dang it.
That was probably one of the best 2 cents I've ever watched.
Just straight up, that's like, I can't speak fast enough because that's how fast my mind was like going through the movie. Like, you just like entered my thought process as I watched the first 5 minutes of the movie.
Kellen, you are now the holder of the award of the best 2 cents.
We should post that on our TikTok or something.
Yeah, good stuff. But all right, Cade, you're up. I will time you on this one, so hit it.
Okay, I just realized this watching this movie. This movie it feels like Revenge of the Sith. Like that dire desperation, like that you want to win, but you know it's not gonna work out. So you're just like, there's gotta be some other way. Like just don't do that, don't do this, and you can win. You know, go for the head this time. You know, like this movie feels like that. But what was special about Star Wars and how it's like we saw the first 4 and how everything fell and it went backwards and it was the prequels, and so there's a different sort of feel. This is just all in chronological order, so it feels more devastating because I'm maybe just a little more invested in than in Star Wars. But here's the deal, like I want to point out like the reasoning behind Thanos and what he wants to do. It's like it's very convincing, and you want to say that it's like this is legitimately a good reason to wipe out half the planet because of what's going down. But then all the lighting, all of his lines are, and what he says and what he does, it's just like it's just everything against of what he's talking about, of what he wants to do. And like there's like one point I want to point out real quick is the when he's torturing Nebula while he's asking Gamora for where the Soul Stone is. Like the lighting on Thanos when he's like just staring at Nebula, like threatening to kill her, is like looks so dark. Like it makes like this movie makes you fear Thanos. And gosh darn it, like I hate Thanos. Like he needs to go down. Like I don't know how he's going to be defeated. Like you want to be scared of him, and because he's done so much destruction throughout the whole movie, and everyone's felt that, and he gets away with it, and all this, you know. And how much time do I have left?
Sorry, I did not tell you. You passed it like 3 seconds ago.
Oh,
Sorry, I got wrapped up.
No!
I forgot to check. So your time is up, sir. You're done.
I just got quacked.
You just got quacked, dude. Sit down, son. Yeah, your time's up. which moves us to the next segment, which is called Pick Your Poison / Check Our MCU Rankings. So in this, if you are new here, what we do is we have a 4-ranking system of how we actually personally enjoyed the movies. And our system is, 1, never watch again. That is pretty obvious what happens there. And then 2, we have our stream it. Like, if you are sitting on Netflix one day and you're bored, you have no idea what to watch, and this movie pops up on your feed, you're like, oh, why not? I'll watch it. And then you have your 3rd, which is rent it, where you're actually willing to spend a couple bucks to sit down and watch this movie for one time. And then you have your last, which is obviously buy, where you actually spend the money to own it yourself forever. So my ranking for this one is a buy. I really enjoyed this movie because it's so riveting and the action is insane. And I think it just the experience is like one of a kind thing. I'm going to talk about that more once you get to Endgame, but I just think this movie is really important just to see that, like, you don't win every battle, but also just, like, I don't know. It's hard to explain, like, how I feel, but long story short, I would definitely buy this movie and own this movie. So,
all right.
Who's next?
Go, Cade.
Okay, so this movie, it's such a unique scenario because are we dropping all spoilers right now? Or are we well, it's a late movie, it's true. We did that with Onward. We didn't spoil it till later. But this movie is so devastating because they don't win, and I want to buy this movie because it's such a huge, momentous movie. You can't miss out on it. But I don't know. I can't justify myself in streaming it. It's got to be this is kind of like a must buy kind of a thing, where like I don't know, like, it's like those movies where it's kind of like a must buy. You kind of just like it's got to be in your collection kind of a thing. You don't watch it very often. Kind
of like a culture thing, I think.
Yeah, kind of like a culture thing, like what Kellen was saying. So it's uniquely this has to be a buy, in my opinion. It's such a huge thing. So that's what my take is.
All right, so outside of the ranking, do either of you guys actually own this movie?
No.
I do. Yes, I do.
Oh, okay.
I owe this movie.
The reason I asked is because I thought Kate didn't. I was like, wow, this is funny. So I own the movie. Here it is. This is a copy I've watched. But for my ranking, I would stream this movie. I just don't.
I will take your copy.
So
for free.
Let me tell you why. So
well, my question is, why did you buy it?
Because I buy movies. This is what I do. I'm like a collector of movies, and one of the first things I started.
But do you regret buying it?
No, I don't. I don't regret buying it. So hear me out. I'm a huge fan of physical media. I think it's superior to digital media in every way. So that's a conversation for another day. So I bought it because I started to build a movie collection, and the first movies I started buying was the MCU movies, and Infinity War was just released at the time, so it was one of the first that I bought. But rewatchability is huge for me in my ranking of movies. Just go check out my letterbox and you'll see that almost every single one of them is a movie that I can easily rewatch. There's some phenomenal movies out there, but I'll never watch them again. Schindler's List, that movie's amazing, but that's just too much for my heart to handle, and I don't watch it frequently. So this is one of those movies where the only circumstance I would see myself watching it is if I was with some friends watching it, or if I was watching through the whole MCU right now. And it's on Disney Plus, so I'd just stream it on Disney Plus if I didn't own it. So, and then if I was going through the MCU and I didn't have Disney Plus and it wasn't anywhere else, I'd just skip it because I just don't like it. So much of I really, really like parts of this movie, but I don't like the ending that much that it's well, I shouldn't say that I don't like it. It is hard for me to watch it, so I just kind of don't look forward to watching it. So.
Fair enough. I respect that.
Yeah. So I'd stream. But so for my actual ranking, I'll say mine first because it's probably going to be the worst. Avengers: Infinity War on my list out of 23 movies is at number 16. So pretty far down there.
Ooh, that's a major disservice.
So
major disservice, bro.
So
you just made yourself some enemies.
I want to check something. Is this our... No. Okay, this is one of the few movies where the three of us are at a disagreement. I remember the first one is actually Spider-Man Homecoming. But, this is one of the few movies of our whole group that we are at a disagreement. So, interesting. Good to know.
Yeah.
So, Harrison, you had it at 16?
Yeah, so 16, and I will say for like future rankings, which is coming really soon when we re-rank it, I imagine that this movie is going to go down because I didn't particularly enjoy this time.
Down?
And there's some movies that I see below it that we have watched that I forgot how much I enjoyed. So, yeah, I'm sorry. I'm normally like the most optimistic person about movies, but I just like... I have a hard time watching this movie. It's not because I don't enjoy it. Like I said, there's parts of it that I really, really enjoy. It's really amazing what it did. It's a good movie. I just struggled to watch it.
When it comes to like, so like, what about Revenge of the Sith? Do you just hate that movie because you know they lose?
No, okay. That's a good point. Like Revenge of the Sith, I love that movie. Every single time I watch it, I'm so invested in it that like I can watch it again and like still never lose the hope that Anakin will choose the right thing. Even though I've seen it so many times and he's always chosen the wrong thing, every time I watch it, I'm like, come on, like you can do it. Just choose to not become a Sith. I watch this movie, I'm like, nope, they're gonna lose. Like I have no hope the whole time. It's such a different experience. I can't point out why. I think this movie's better made than Revenge of the Sith, but my emotions with Revenge of the Sith are way better. Where this one's just like, throw in the towel. Let's get through it. Come on, Thanos wins. Let's get to Endgame. Like,
all right. Well, I am like pretty much polar opposite here. My ranking is 2 of the 23 movies here. I got Infinity War coming in at number 2. So I really like this movie. The thing is though that's weird is that I like completely understand like Harrison's reason why he doesn't like this movie. So maybe that just means like I'm a psycho or I got some issues. I don't know, but I like this movie. So that's just kind of like how I think. So yeah, number 2 of 23 for me. Cade, what you got?
4, baby. Number 4. That's why I ranked the movie. I don't want to move it. Because how I'm freaking invested this movie is. Also, the fight scenes. I cannot tell you how many times I have went onto YouTube or whatever or fast forwarded to the point where I watch Thanos and Tony Stark fight, or Thanos and Doctor Strange, or Thanos and Thor, or when Thor drops the freaking bomb when he shows up with his new weapon. Like I look forward to scenes. Now, the ending part I don't necessarily love. That's not the reason why I ranked it so high. Like I enjoy them getting their butts kicked. That's not the reason why. It's everything else. That's why I ranked that high.
all right. Well, for our average ranking, this is number 4, right? Okay, put it so near the top, in the top 5. No surprise here. For my Phase 3 ranking, this is at number 10 of 11. Probably going to go to number 11. We'll see. Captain Marvel's beneath it.
Oh, wow, at the bottom.
Pretty sure my opinion of Captain Marvel's going to go up. I already know that. Like, I haven't watched it recently. I just, like, already know my opinion of it is going to go up.
No,
so,
don't put it above. don't put it above Infinity. Don't do that.
Bottom.
It's Captain Marvel. Come on.
I like Captain Marvel.
Back me up here because I know I can't convince Kelton.
That's a note here. I feel bad for ranking Captain Marvel so low. I can't wait to watch that movie to like improve my opinion of it because I know that I will.
See, here's the thing. I don't agree with like Harrison like dropping it below Captain Marvel, but I'm actually going to jump on his side right here because I actually really liked Captain Marvel, and it got like a ton of negative reviews. Like in my like the entire MCU, I have Captain Marvel coming in at number 7. So, haters going to hate.
I think that's a crime.
You got to respect the game, dude. Like Captain Marvel is sick.
No, game respect game is respecting freaking Thor with his bad A hammer the very first time, like that kind of stuff. Captain Marvel,
yo,
come on.
That movie was trash.
That's minor league stuff.
Sleep in the first like 20 minutes, dude.
Of what?
Of Thor, dude. That movie sucks.
No, I'm talking about Infinity War, bro. Thor and Infinity War
constantly.
See, here's the
Captain
thing.
Marvel, I was so turned off by it because everything went down, and the way it was spotted, like, okay, so she's just like this really sarcastic lady who just OP'd and just can destroy everybody. It's like, I got this. Don't worry.
I thought
See,
we were
see-
talking about
Me.
Infinity
Man,
War.
Here's the thing. Here's the
I thought we
thing.
were talking about Infinity War.
Captain Marvel in Endgame is terrible. I hate her as a character, but in her own movie, I
haircut
loved
sucks.
her. I thought she was sick. Like finding out who the freak she is and like how she has these powers, dope. And dude, you can't lie to me when you say you did not get chills at the end of that movie. I don't want to spoil anything, but there's a scene in Captain Marvel where I almost peed my pants because I was so dang hyped. So respect the game, respect the movie.
But here's the
Respect
thing,
Captain
though.
Marvel.
You're the hype man, so it's downplay when you say you're hyped about a scene. Because
See,
you're always hyped.
no. Here's the thing. As a hype man, I know what hype is good and what hype is bad.
As a hype man, I have a final say in hype.
Exactly. You could call me a hype expert, so I would know whether Thor is a good hype movie, which it's not. Like I said, I fell asleep, dude. I was bored, nothing happens. Or Captain Marvel, where she does that big, super dope thing, and your mind is blown. So, back to the
Bro,
original
I'm just
point.
saying, bro, I'm just saying Infinity War is above Captain Marvel. That's what I'm saying. The hype level
Okay,
of
okay.
Infinity War is unmatched compared to...
Yes, this I agree with. See,
Thank
I
you.
like...
That's my
See,
argument.
I have Infinity War ranked above Captain Marvel, so I respect the game of Infinity War. But I was just saying, I could see the reasoning why Harrison... I don't know why I'm talking like this. I could see why Harrison would, like, put Captain Marvel up higher. That's what I'm trying to say. I don't like that.
Don't do
Davis-
it, man.
I don't like how he's dropping in Infinity War, but I respect him raising up Captain Marvel, which we're not talking about that, so I
But
don't know why
that's
I'm
you
bringing it up.
that's you valuing Captain Marvel over Infinity War.
No.
That's what I'm saying.
No. Okay. Listen up, dude.
I'm on Kellen's side here, totally.
Like, yes, I have Infinity War as my number 2. But the point is, yes, I am sad that Harrison is dropping Infinity War.
Where do you have Captain Marvel ranked on yours?
7, dog. I had to like figure out what 7 was with my hands. But yes, 7.
Where did you rank Infinity War?
2. Like I said.
I rest my case.
Yes, I agree. But I'm not agreeing with Harrison 100%. I'm agreeing with him 50%, dude. That big old 50. Which means I respect him raising Captain Marvel. I disrespect him for dropping Infinity War. Take that to the bank, dude. But yeah, point is, I don't know how we got to this. So our final rankings are Cade and I are buys. Harrison is a streamer.
Yeah. So.
Was this on Pick or Poison?
Yes.
Yeah. Can we move on to
Pick
the
our
next
points and
thing?
rankings. Alright, let's get to binge points, baby. Let's do this.
Okay, binge points. Next session. Let's get over this. All right, the binge points, the references, the little quotes, the little editing, and whatever you want to point out in this movie. We call this a binge point. Let's get to it. I already pointed out. I want to point out one thing. So the point where Gamora is killed, she gets thrown off this cliff, and the music, I want to say, in that scene is so devastating. This was the first time when Gamora, when Gamora dies, that was the first time I cried in a Marvel movie. Now, I'm not discrediting or devaluing Loki. Loki's death was just a huge shell shocker. I didn't know how to respond to that. But the build up to Gamora and her eventual death on Vormir was just huge. And I was like, there's no way. Like, I don't know, how am I supposed to move? Like, the movie could have ended on that note of Gamora dying. That's how huge. Like, those huge cliffhangers, right? In movies, that scene, it felt like that. I just want to point that out. Like, and the soundtrack just really just emphasized it by like times 10.
Yeah, that moment was. I remember I cried in the theater. That moment was sad. The music is super good in this movie, both in like the way that it like makes you feel super sad, but also like in the way that it makes you feel hopeful. Like, even though I'm not totally invested in this movie the second time watching it, like it still gets you. Like, there's really moments where like they really make you feel like the Avengers are gonna win, just to like break your heart again, over and over again, but just constantly like there are a lot of moments that like make you feel a sense of hope to have it crushed to pieces. But
yeah, sorry to interrupt. Go ahead.
oh, that's
Harrison.
okay. Go. I don't remember what I was saying. I didn't have anything to
Yeah.
say.
So if you guys don't mind, I'm gonna go to one of my kind of binge points. So I noticed a theme that we know happens in Endgame, but that we see. I noticed the first time watching this, or I at least recognized it this time around, was right from the very get-go when Thanos is monologuing to Thor and Loki right after he kills all of the Asgardians on the ship. And he talks about failure and how he says, like, to believe with every ounce, like, I'm paraphrasing it, I don't know the exact quote, but he talks about how if you believe that you're right, like 1,000%, but to still fail in the end, and how it's like crushing and it like kind of like kills you. That's the paraphrase. I know I'm getting it wrong, but that's like the general gist of what he's saying. Like, I realized they introduced that theme, that idea of believing you are so right, but failing, like the crushing blow that it brings you and like what it pushes you to do. We see that theme continue throughout Endgame. So I just noticed, I thought it was pretty cool that they kind of mention that, and then that comes up later down the road when they kind of tie off the whole, oh my gosh, the whole third part of the MCU. So I thought that was pretty cool that they brought it up so early.
Yeah. I had a few bench points. Is that like I think what that makes Thanos such a good villain, and I don't think I really ever like noticed until this time. He like thinks he's right, like 100%.
Yeah.
Like, although there's like some logic and like understanding to why he thinks that, he's totally wrong. But like, he thinks he's right. Like he thinks that he has found the ultimate solution, and because of that, he is like the savior, so to speak, and he is there, and he's the only person who can do it because he's the only one with the will to act on it. When it's like yeah, sure, you're right that this is a problem, but that's genocide is definitely not
the way to
problem.
do it.
And like he thinks it is, and it's so terrifying.
Yeah, I actually picked up on that when he was talking to Gamora, right?
Yeah,
when
that's when I
she's
noticed it.
Trying to lie about not finding the Soul Stone, and she's like, "But you're like." I'm terrible at remembering what exactly they say, but she's like, "You're wrong," or "You can't do that," and he's like, "I'm the only one who can do that. Like, I'm the only one who has the power and the balls to do it." Pretty much, like paraphrase here, but he is like so sold on this idea that he is willing to, like, we know, kill his daughter, freaking kill millions and billions of people. And just to get this one idea, like, across, which we know, like, from Civil War, there's someone who thinks they're right, and that means they're very dangerous.
Yeah. Yeah. Also, I don't know if this is a bench point or something else, but, like, I seriously wonder, like, so Doctor Strange, when he saw his 14,605 outcomes, like, how in detail did he see? Like, did he see Star-Lord be a total idiot and ruin the whole plan? Like, was that supposed to happen? Oh, I hate that moment so much. Like,
that we'll get to that later.
Yeah, but like, did he see that? Like, how detailed did he see it, or like, did he just see that Tony Stark had to stay alive? Because like, we know that that's super crucial, and like to the point where he was willing to give up the Time Stone to keep Tony Stark alive. But like, how in detail did he see the one way that they succeed? Which also like makes me wonder, on a side note, like, because Thanos is like, he's a huge respecter of like sacrifice and commitment and like giving your word, and like, I don't know, like he really expects Star-Lord when Star-Lord like tries to kill Gamora. Like, you can tell he really respects him. He respects Captain America and Tony Stark because they like understand sacrifice. And I wonder if when Doctor Strange gave Thanos the Time Stone, he said like, as long as he lives. I wonder if when Thanos snapped, he like snapped with the idea to keep Tony Stark alive, and like it wasn't just luck. Like, I know that everyone else staying alive was just luck, but like I wonder if specifically Tony Stark was Thanos keeping his word to Doctor Strange, which stupidest thing to think about, but I was thinking about it.
It's interesting to think about, yeah. So yeah, for the sake of time, is it cool if you guys if we move on to the next segment?
Yeah.
Dope.
I'm cool with that. So that is our least and likes, which is exactly what it sounds like. Our least favorite scene and our favorite scenes. So I'll go first. My least favorite scene is when Star-Lord is an idiot.
Amen, brother! I hated that part.
Hate it.
Yep.
Every time.
It's just like, there's no way to get around it. That scene freaking sucked.
Well,
Like,
Also,
is this one of the first times
I have an honorable mention for it.
Is this one of the first
Honorable
times we're all in
mention for least favorite
agreement
scene.
for the least favorite scene?
I think it is.
Okay, that part sucks. Let's get an amen, brother.
Okay, honorable mention, Wanda and Vision's romantic relationship. I do not like it.
What?
It doesn't make sense.
What? No.
He's a freaking machine. Like,
Dude! Okay, you gotta read
don't-
House of M. Go read House of M,
I don't
the
like it.
comic, and it will change your mind. Speaking of which, I'm so stoked for WandaVision because of that. But I can't remember the other honorable mention that I was gonna have for least favorite scene, but like in watching the movie, I was like, oh, that's my least favorite one. And like I knew the event with Star-Lord was gonna happen, but I was like, no, this is worse. And then it got to that point, I was like, nope, Star-Lord, you're an idiot. This is the worst part. Like, yeah, like it's really on brand, for lack of better words, for Star-Lord's character. Like he did the same thing when he found out his mom had a tumor. Like he really acts on emotion and remorse a lot, but he's stupid.
Yeah.
All right.
It was just... You hate it because it's like, frick, aren't they... Like, we know that actually had to happen for the one thing, you know, from Doctor Strange. That wasn't the way they were going to win. But it feels like it's right there. You know, they take off the glove and, like, you know, they just nuke Thanos and you're good. But, yeah, it's hard to watch because it's like, frick, dude. If you could just hold your emotions and check for, like, 10 more seconds, you're good. But, yeah, it's hard to watch because you see how close it is. So...
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, favorite scenes?
All right, mine
this is hard.
when Thanos shows up, dude, with Stormbreaker. Or, not, sorry, oh my gosh. Thor.
Thanos.
When Thor shows up. When Thor shows up with
What
Stormbreaker.
movie are you watching?
Like, hot dang, dude. Talk about power. And I've always liked Thor. He's sick. So just watching him just, like, nuke an entire field of these, like, 6-armed weird monster things with this giant, dope super axe that could kill Thanos. I was like, dude, respect, man. That's freaking sick. That one's my favorite.
Game recognized game.
Game recognized game, dude. That's some good hype right there.
Okay, I say that's one of my favorite scenes. But, oh, I had another one. And I totally spaced it while you were talking. Oh, yeah. It's when freaking T'Challa is, like, shouting out, and the whole freaking army is like, Ibombe! And then finally just like, Wakanda forever! And it's like, oh! Like, it gets pumped at that scene. It's just like chills so hard at that scene. It's just every time. I don't know how many times I've watched this, but watching him scream that, ooh, that's so close to be my favorite.
Oh, I have so many problems with that scene. But the reason that it's not my least favorite is because of what you're saying, Cade. Like, the hype behind T'Challa and Captain America, like, sprinting, like, way faster than everybody else. And, like, the fight that follows is super good. But, like, it's another stupid thing. They had the perfect, like, strategically, they were uphill. They had a line. The people were in a bottleneck. Like, all they had to do was just stay there and just beat the stupid space dogs. But then they decided to run down the hill and, like, totally ruin their strategic advantage. And then they lost. Oh, it bothers me. But the hype behind, like, seeing them fight like a boss and T'Challa is sweet. My favorite scene, though, is when Doctor Strange battles Thanos. That's just... I wish that fight was longer between the two of them. It's so good. Like, Thanos throws a black hole from the... Like, he breaks the mirror dimension and then turns it into a black hole and sends it back at Doctor Strange. And he turns it into a bunch of butterflies. And then Thanos is, like, shook from the butterflies. He's straight up, like... It's like, ugh. But yeah, that's my favorite scene. It's
Yeah,
Doctor
that's a
Strange
cool fight
battling
scene.
Thanos. It's so sick.
Dang. All right, ladies and gentlemen, is it time for Fall In?
It is. I think it is.
All right, let's do this. All right, this is the meat of our podcast when we talk about certain themes or how certain parts of the movie affected us in real life. So, mine really quick. I this time around I really thought about human life watching this movie. I had a conversation with a friend a long time ago on how we agreed that, like, human life is, like, so important. and we feel like no one has the choice or the right to take someone else's life away, and that it is so valuable and precious. So the idea that someone such as Thanos thinks he could come in and basically be a god and decide who gets to live or dies, is just, I'm completely against that. I completely disagree, because human life is so precious. And to see, like, as certain people die in this franchise, in this series, it, like, affects us. Like, it's really, really sad. And, like you said, Harrison, while it seems like Thanos, like, can recognize that there is a problem, and how, people are suffering and stuff like that, I don't think killing off humans or life at all is the way to do it. So I don't know, it just made me realize this time around that human life is so special, and that we should do everything we can to save everyone that we can. So that's kind of my weird little I
agree.
tidbit I got.
One thing I really noticed this time is the big difference between the Avengers and Thanos, because I remember watching this movie one of the first times. It wasn't in theaters, but one of the second times I rewatched it, I was like, why doesn't Vision and Wanda just make the big move and just break I'm struggling with my words, but they're not the only ones. But throughout the movie, I was like, why do they value one person's life so much? And I think about if they would have just destroyed the Mind Stone right then and right there when they were at the Avengers compound, then Thanos never would have won. And of course, because of what we know in Endgame, it turns around. But it bothered me. I'm like, why can't they just make the selfish move for all the other trillions of people that they'll save? And I'm still kind of wrestling with that in my head. I do feel like that too.
I feel,
but
it's Scarlet Witch. She bothered me in this movie for that reason.
So that's one thing that I've struggled with this movie for a long time. Why doesn't someone just make the selfless move and sacrifice one life for all the trillions that will live? But this time, that wrestle that I continually have with that in this movie, it really changed. Where one of the reasons that I think that makes Thanos so evil is that he is willing to sacrifice one life, including Gamora, someone that he quote unquote loves, for his goal. And I think that differentiates him really strongly between the Avengers, that they weren't willing to give up a single life for their goal, even though those were much more noble. And I think it is what you're saying, Kellen. The worth of one life is really, really precious. And I don't think it's something that we really get to determine who gets to stay or go. I just thought it was a really strong contrast that Thanos was so committed to his goal that he was willing to sacrifice any one person at any given time he's needed. But all the Avengers, even Gamora, was willing to give up information or willing to do something because someone they love suffered. Loki did the same thing. The Avengers chose to not let Vision die because, I don't know, just a big contrast, which I agree with what you're saying, Kellen.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah. The value of a human life is really big. I was thinking about that too. That there's a wrong way to sacrifice a human life, or to make a sacrifice, and it can be represented in this a lot. You can have the wrong reasons to do a sacrifice, and a lot of people can be all your friends are in danger and everything, and you can risk your life, you can risk a lot of things, and knowing when it's right to really make that sacrifice or to make that decision to do what is necessary takes a lot of maturity. And I think in this movie it shows with the Avengers that they weren't quite there. They understood the fight and the necessary risk that it had, but the sort of sacrifice, they weren't quite there yet. And Tony Stark finally learns that at Endgame. There's a lot of maturity in that movie rather than Infinity War. It's this war that they're not ready for, and it's really hard to take a loss. It shows different ways to take a loss, and it goes more into depth about that in Endgame. But I don't know, that's all I really got out of this movie, as far as for this segment to really think about and something that's in depth. But also, like, kind of reminds, this is more emphasis on that family can have a lot of issues, you know, with Thanos and his daughter and stuff. But I don't know, that's main thing was just about like the value of a human life.
Yeah, it was interesting to think about. I was trying to put myself in the shoes of Vision and Wanda. Like, not that this would ever happen, but like if the fate of half of the population in the universe relied on like my wife dying, would I allow my wife to die so that everyone else could live? And like, I don't know how I would answer that question. I definitely can't give you the answer right now, but I think it's something I wouldn't say important, but valuable to think about. Think about those relationships and the value of that individual life, because it definitely is there. Every single life has immense value. They're definitely worth keeping and helping others to do that as well.
Yeah. Well, I think that's a really good spot to end.
Okay, I think so too. Well, we'll wrap it up then. Thanks everybody for listening with the Basement Binge. We'll continue. Keep cranking out 2 episodes a week for you guys, continuing with the MCU binge, but also some other movies. So, yeah, if you want to learn more about the show or anything like that, go check out Audiograph. They're a great podcast listening website. They're building an app right now that's coming out. They're a great source. The link to our podcast on their site is going to be in the show notes at the top of it there. But yeah, they're great. Kind of adding the way we can interact between podcasters and podcast listeners back into podcasting. It's pretty cool. So go check them out in the link. But also keep downloading the show, guys. We appreciate it. Yeah, more to come as always.
All right.
Well, catch you next week. Ciao, ciao.
What it do, baby?
Peace out, home dogs.